Chapter 1. From CEO to Cowboy. The Reinvention of Jeff Bezos. In 2025, Jeff Bezos looks less like the tech titan who built Amazon and more like a character straight out of a modern Western. With a cowboy hat in one hand and a satellite phone in the other, he's as comfortable on horseback as he once was pacing across a product launch stage. After stepping down as Amazon CEO in 2021, Bezos didn't exactly disappear. He just changed scenes. And perhaps more unexpectedly, he changed pace. These days, he splits his time between the sea and the soil. But when he's on land, it's the wide skies and wind-swept ranches of Montana that anchor him. The same man who once redefined how the world shops now spends parts of his week walking tree-lined paths, checking in with ranch staff, or just standing quietly on a ridgeline watching the horizon. At first glance, it feels like a retreat, but dig a little deeper, and you'll find this version of Jeff Bezos isn't less focused. He's just focusing on different things. This is reinvention, billionaire style. Bezos' Montana property, reported to be more than 400,000 acres of secluded wilderness, is a reflection of that shift. It's part conservation project, part private fortress, and part testing ground for what comes next. Here, there are no news cameras, no press conferences, and definitely no overnight delivery complaints. Just space. Lots of it. And it's here that Bezos has begun to reshape not only how he lives, but what legacy means to him. He wakes early, not to answer emails, but to move. Sunrise hikes, bareback riding, a private chef preparing a clean, minimal breakfast before he heads into his morning meetings. Yes, there are still meetings, but these days, they're mostly remote, often audio only, and nearly always short. His team knows not to overload the day. Bezos guards his time like a monk guards silence. Every minute has intention behind it, and if something can be handled by a lieutenant, it is. The ranch isn't just a retreat, it's a control center, with encrypted satellite links, solar-powered communication towers, and a small army of staff and engineers on rotation. Bezos runs Blue Origin updates, Earth Fund strategy sessions, and private investment reviews from a leather chair inside a log cabin-styled operations room. It's rustic on the outside and fully wired within. Because when you're worth north of $180 billion, even your off-grid hideout has fiber optics and backup batteries fit for a space station. And when he's not working, he's thinking, reading philosophy, journaling, hosting dinner conversations with physicists, ethicists, artists, and former heads of state. He's crafting a slower life, but one that's no less ambitious. He's not gone. He's just gone deeper. Jeff Bezos' 2025 isn't filled with product launches and media tours. It's filled with long walks, low voices, and legacy building. It's a quieter kind of power, the kind that doesn't demand your attention but moves around it, shaping long-term bets in silence. It's less Silicon Valley, more Yellowstone, less front page, more long game. And while the cowboy hat might be symbolic, the transformation underneath it is very real. The richest man in the world hasn't stopped chasing the future. He's just learned how to do it without making so much noise. Coming up next, the story behind Bezos' new marriage and how it's changing the rhythm of his billionaire life. Chapter 2. A new love story. Inside Bezos' marriage to Lauren Sánchez. It was the kind of moment that didn't need a press release. No grand social media post, no red carpet announcement. Just a few sharp-eyed onlookers, a discreet setting, and one of the world's most recognizable billionaires standing beside the woman he's been linked to for years. In 2025, Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sánchez are no longer just partners in headlines. They're husband and wife. Their journey to this chapter wasn't hidden, but it was never loud. After years of speculation, tabloid snapshots, and public curiosity, The couple finally tied the knot in what's been described as a hyper-private, ultra-refined ceremony, held either aboard the Koru, Bezos' $500 million sailing yacht, or somewhere equally remote and ungoogleable. The exact location remains unconfirmed, and that's no accident. This isn't a pair that thrives on exposure. This is a duo that knows the world is watching and chooses, more often than not, to keep the most personal moments behind a velvet curtain. Lauren Sánchez, once known as a news anchor and Hollywood personality, has evolved alongside Bezos into something far more layered. She's now a frequent flyer in the world of space and philanthropy, literally and figuratively. A licensed helicopter pilot, she's flown Bezos across continents, sometimes taking off from the helipad aboard Koru, sometimes landing beside the Montana Lodge. But beyond the travel, she's been an increasingly visible force behind some of Bezos' most personal initiatives, particularly the Bezos Earth Fund and his growing interest in women-led aerospace endeavors. Their relationship, which began making waves back in 2019, has aged into something that seems more calibrated now, less tabloid drama, more shared mission. Friends of the couple describe them as aligned. Different, yes. She brings warmth and spontaneity to Bezos' structured intensity, but aligned in vision. In conversations with climate leaders, she's engaged. In private dinners with scientists and space engineers, she listens, asks, contributes. And when she speaks publicly, it's often with that practiced ease of someone who knows both the value of the moment and the weight of the platform she now stands on. Their dynamic feels modern but not performative. He brings the infrastructure, she brings the instinct. Together, they've crafted something that works in the high-pressure world they occupy. Bezos, who once guarded his personal life like a trade secret, now appears more open, still private, but less encased. You can see it in the way he talks about partnerships, in the unguarded smiles during public outings, in how the yacht isn't just a vessel, it's their floating home. There's been a noticeable softening to Bezos since this relationship began to mature. Whether that's a result of love, perspective, or simply time, no one can say for sure. But it's clear that Lauren has played a central role in that evolution. Their marriage isn't just another billionaire headline, it's become a cornerstone of how Bezos moves through the world in this new era. And it's changed the way people perceive him. He's still calculated, still ambitious, but he's no longer trying to run every race alone. The wedding, while discreet, wasn't without meaning. Sources close to the couple say it was intimate but global, featuring a small group of family, longtime friends, and a few names you'd recognize instantly if you saw the guest list. There were no leaks, no TMZ helicopters, just the sounds of water, music, and vows spoken beneath an open sky. And just like that, the next phase of Bezos' life began, not with a launch, but with a promise, a quieter commitment to love, to partnership, and perhaps most surprisingly, to balance. But love is only one part of the picture. Coming up next, the floating fortress that's become both his sanctuary and his status symbol, the story behind Koru, the yacht that sails like a whisper but carries the weight of an empire. Chapter 3, Billionaire on the Water, the super yachts of Jeff Bezos. It stretches longer than a football field, glides silently through the Mediterranean, and costs more than most companies make in a decade. Her name is Koru, and in 2025, she's become as much a part of Jeff Bezos' identity as Amazon once was. This isn't just a yacht, it's a statement, a floating city of teak and titanium, privacy, and precision. And it's redefining what luxury means at the billionaire level. Built in the Netherlands and delivered in 2023, Koru is a sailing yacht. But don't let the word sailing fool you. This isn't a romantic relic, it's a 417-foot technological marvel, with a sleek black hull, 3 masts that rise like monoliths, and an interior so private even the builders were sworn to silence. While Bezos rarely talks about her publicly, she's been quietly making appearances all over the globe, off the coast of Majorca, in the Aegean Sea, anchored near Italian islands where paparazzi can't quite zoom far enough. What makes Koru special isn't just the price tag, estimated at $500 million, or even the mystery of its construction. It's the lifestyle it represents. Bezos isn't using it to flash wealth. He's using it to disappear, to host, to reset. Inside, there are rumored to be meditation rooms, a spa, a full gym, and tech-enabled conference areas where decisions worth billions are made over espresso and ocean breeze. And Koru doesn't sail alone. She's accompanied by a shadow vessel. Smaller, yes, but still the size of most people's dream yacht. This second ship carries toys, tenders, support staff, and reportedly even a private helipad. That's where Lauren Sánchez often lands, piloting her own helicopter to and from the yacht, like a scene straight out of a Bond movie, if Bond retired with a better sense of work-life balance. Life aboard Koru is said to follow a rhythm. Mornings begin with silence, reading, stretching, coffee, with a view no penthouse could rival. Afternoons are for swimming, calls, and strategy sessions. Evenings might include sunset dinners on the aft deck with a guest list that ranges from astronauts to philosophers, former presidents to future CEOs. It's not a party boat, it's a floating think tank wrapped in mahogany and secrecy. And yet, there are moments of levity. Bezos, often seen shirtless in shorts and sunglasses, has embraced this new role. Not the suited tech boss pacing across earnings reports, but the yachted elder statesman, carefully choosing where and when to engage. He doesn't need to be everywhere anymore. With Koru, he can be anywhere, and that's the difference. The yacht isn't just about escape, it's about control. When he's on board, he's unreachable in the best possible way. Meetings happen on his time. The internet runs through encrypted satellite links. Conversations aren't leaked. It's an environment built for clarity, one wave at a time. In some ways, Koru is a metaphor for where Bezos is in life. He's no longer sprinting through the corridors of HQ. He's charting new waters, literally and figuratively. The world's richest man didn't just build a boat, he built a boundary, one that sails. And as the sails unfurl and the horizon stretches endlessly before him, Bezos seems entirely in his element, beyond press cycles, beyond urgency, drifting just out of reach. Because when you own the ocean, you don't need to announce your arrival. You just appear. But not all of Bezos's peace comes from the sea. Some of it is found in the mountains, under open skies, in a place where boots replace boat shoes. Next, we head inland to Montana and the quiet empire he's building there. Chapter 4: Life on the Ranch. Bezos's quiet empire in Montana. There's no superyacht on the horizon here. No cameras, no paparazzi boats bobbing in the distance. Just wind, endless pine trees, and the low rumble. While Koru may be the floating symbol of his wealth, the Montana ranch is the quiet heart of his reinvention. Tucked deep into the state's rugged landscape, Bezos' property sprawls over hundreds of thousands of acres. Reports suggest he now owns one of the largest private land holdings in the region. It's not just real estate, it's sanctuary, strategy, and silence rolled into one. There are no public signs, no mapped roads, and absolutely no welcome signs. From the moment you pass the outer gate, if you're ever lucky enough to be invited, you realize you've entered a space designed to operate far from public view. The main lodge is a blend of raw wood and polished minimalism, elegant but never flashy. It's the kind of place where mornings begin with horseback rides rather than Zoom calls. Bezos is often seen in jeans, boots, and a flannel shirt, indistinguishable from the ranch hands he employs. Except, of course, when he's taking a mid-morning call via a secure, solar-powered satellite hub seated in a field with a mug of strong coffee in hand. Life here follows a rhythm. He rises early, not to chase headlines, but to listen. The sound of wind through aspens, the crackle of firewood in the hearth. Sometimes it's just him and a notepad sketching ideas that may or may not ever see daylight. This ranch isn't just a getaway, it's a think tank disguised as a wilderness preserve. Those close to him say Bezos uses this space to filter out noise and focus on the long game. It's where Blue Origin goals get refined, where Earth Fund projects are debated, and where he connects with experts and thinkers over slow walks instead of conference rooms. It's not unusual for visiting scientists, artists, or environmental leaders to join him for weekend retreats, unplugged, off the record, and wide-ranging in conversation. The Montana air, it seems, has a way of opening up bigger thoughts. But Bezos isn't just thinking here. He's building, both figuratively and literally. Some of the infrastructure hidden across the ranch includes off-grid energy systems, remote weather labs, and wildlife restoration efforts. Part of the land is being preserved under his own conservation initiatives. In a time when climate anxiety grows louder, Bezos is investing quietly in solutions. And he's doing it on land that lets him see the problem and the potential up close. Evenings are quieter still. He often cooks with his team. Simple meals, local ingredients, and long dinners where no one rushes the conversation. Lauren Sánchez joins him frequently and they walk the property together at dusk. No photos, no paparazzi, just the shared rhythm of people who know that real connection doesn't need to be posted. Montana offers him something he can't find in tech labs or boardrooms: perspective, a high-altitude view of what matters. Out here, Bezos isn't the CEO of a... And while most people think of billionaires as creatures of excess, Bezos's Montana life tells a different story, one of curation, not consumption. It's about intention, not indulgence. And from that quiet place, some of his boldest decisions are being made. Next up, we leave the horses behind and head back to rockets, algorithms, and billion-dollar bets. Because Jeff Bezos didn't leave the game, he just rewrote the rules. In Chapter 5, we step back into the builder's mind and look at the moves that are still shaping the future. Chapter 5. Bezos, the Builder. Business moves, Blue Origin, and the future. Even with the cowboy hat and the yacht, Jeff Bezos has never stopped building. Strip away the ranch landscapes and Mediterranean sunrises, and the core of Bezos remains the same: builder, strategist, competitor. In 2025, he may no longer be Amazon's CEO, but his hands are still very much on the levers of innovation. Only now he's pulling them from more remote, carefully chosen locations. Out of the spotlight doesn't mean out of the game. It just means playing it smarter. Let's start with Amazon. While Andy Jassy took the reins officially in 2021, Bezos remains executive chairman, a title that downplays just how influential he still is. He doesn't micromanage logistics or sit in on every marketing pitch. Instead, his input comes in flashes, big questions, long-view strategy, and surprise visits to labs or warehouses when something important is brewing. He's the compass, not the map. And according to insiders, his presence is more surgical now, more decisive. A word from Jeff still tilts the direction of entire teams. But it's in Blue Origin that Bezos's energy is most intensely focused. While Elon Musk's SpaceX often dominates headlines with launches and bold claims, Bezos is playing a different game. Slower, more methodical, but no less ambitious. In 2025, Blue Origin has begun sending humans to the edge of space with more frequency. The New Shepard program has matured, but what's capturing attention now is Orbital Reef, a commercial space station co-developed with Sierra Space and backed in part by NASA. The vision? A private, modular space habitat orbiting Earth, ready to host scientists, commercial researchers, maybe even tourists one day. It sounds like sci-fi, but ground has already broken and hardware is in production. Bezos isn't just competing for prestige. He's laying the foundation for permanent human presence in low Earth orbit. For him, space isn't a side project, It's a long-term bet on the survival of civilization. He's also taken steps to apply this kind of far-reaching thinking to Earth. Through the Bezos Earth Fund, now endowed with $10 billion, he's funding crawlers.
In fact, that's the point. The work is meant to outlast the headlines, to quietly fund systems that could scale solutions rather than slogans. Behind the scenes, his private investment portfolio has grown more aggressive. Reports link him to artificial general intelligence labs, alternative protein companies, and even long-shot ventures into life extension science. But he doesn't sit on boards. He doesn't give speeches about every move. His new philosophy seems to be build quietly, invest deeply, and let the outcomes speak louder than the optics. Even the way he manages his time reflects this. Meetings are shorter, decisions are made faster. He operates like a man who values time above all else, his own and humanity's. Those who work with him say he's sharper than ever and far more focused. There's no need to win the news cycle when you're designing for the next century. So while the world watches his yachts, his romance, and his ranch, Bezos continues to build in the background, not just companies, but capabilities. Not just products, but frameworks. He's not trying to go viral, he's trying to go the distance. And what about the money that powers it all? Where does his vast fortune stand today, and what's he doing with it? In our final chapter, we break down Bezos' 2025 net worth, explore how he's structured his empire, and ask the bigger question: what does someone who's already changed the world twice do next? Chapter 6: Net Worth, Legacy, and What Comes Next. At this point, it's almost a formality to say Jeff Bezos is one of the richest men in the world. In 2025, depending on the week and the fluctuations of tech stocks, his net worth floats between $180 billion and $200 billion. The numbers change, but one thing doesn't: the scale. This isn't just personal wealth, it's planetary-level capital. And Bezos, more than ever, is reshaping what that kind of fortune is meant to do. The breakdown, of course, begins with Amazon. Though he no longer runs the company day to day, Bezos still owns roughly 10% of its stock. In a strong quarter, that slice alone is worth over $130 billion. Then there's Blue Origin, a private company with soaring ambition and no small value. Recent funding rounds and government contracts have pushed its estimated worth well into the tens of billions, and Bezos owns the lion's share. Add to that his real estate empire, sprawling across Beverly Hills, Washington, D.C., New York, Maui, and of course, Montana. Not to mention Koru, the $500 million yacht with its own support vessel, and several private jets. This is wealth measured not in luxury, but in infrastructure, in optionality, in mobility. But here's what sets Bezos apart in 2025. He's no longer interested in just accumulating. The man who once built a retail empire to deliver everything faster is now spending his time on things that move slower. Trees, space, science. Through the Bezos Earth Fund, his commitment to donate $10 billion to climate and conservation causes is already underway. He's funding coral reef restoration, satellite-based climate monitoring, carbon capture technology, and grassroots environmental justice efforts. These aren't short-term plays, they're bets on the distant future. He's also taken a personal interest in longevity research, not just the science of extending life, but the quality of it. This includes funding companies that explore everything from gene therapy to regenerative medicine. It's clear that Bezos isn't just trying to build for his own lifetime. He's trying to build something that lasts well beyond it. When asked about legacy, Bezos often returns to a single idea: long-term thinking. It's why he funded the construction of the 10,000-year clock, a massive, slow-ticking timepiece hidden inside a mountain in West Texas, designed to ring once a millennium. A symbol, yes, but also a question. What are we doing today that will matter in 1,000 years? That's what legacy looks like to him in 2025. Not statues or stadiums with his name on them, but systems, foundations, and ecosystems that outlive his presence. He's turning his wealth into an operating system for the future, one where clean energy, space travel, and human potential are not just possible, but inevitable. And yet, despite all of this, Bezos remains hard to read. He doesn't post often. He doesn't take interviews regularly. When he does speak, it's short, deliberate, and usually tied to action. He's more interested in what comes next than what's already been said. So what does come next? More space missions? A moon base? A deeper pivot into AI? Or maybe less? Maybe the final twist in the Bezos story is that he pulls back further, focusing on the Montana sky, his marriage, and the quiet satisfaction of a life already redefined. Whatever the answer, one thing is certain. Jeff Bezos is no longer building just to win. He's building to endure. And that's a different kind of power altogether.